What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Better Days Films. It's your boy Z, and I'm back with another movie review. I'm back to review and talk about the next Terminator movie because I'm reviewing all of the Terminator movies. I'm reviewing all of them. Good or bad, I want to review all of them. I've already did the very first Terminator, and I'll leave the link for that video in this description for y'all to check out. But we are on to the next one, which is Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Terminator 2 Judgment Day came out July 3rd, 1991. Their budget was 94 to 102 million. Their box office brought in 519 to 520.9 million. Arnold Schwarzenegger is back, and so is Linda Hamilton. Now, I'm not going to go plot by plot because I'm pretty sure everybody's seen Terminator 2. I'm just going to give, what the story is, what the plot is, and my thoughts on, some situations in the movie. And I should also point out that I did watch the director's cut version of it because I watched it on HBO Max, and as an extra, HBO Max had the director's cut. So I watched the director's cut. Like I said in my first review, I love the Terminator movies. I love the very first one. I love Terminator 2 Judgment Day even more. Just great action movie. Terminator 2 is just, for what the time that it came out and all the stuff that they was able to accomplish with it was just amazing. Well, the plot is Skynet once again sends a Terminator back through time. This time not to kill Sarah Connor, but to kill the leader of the Resistance, John Connor, while he's still a kid. And John Connor, Sarah Connor's son, is played by Edward Furlong. And of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger plays the T-800 because we find out that the Resistance was able to send somebody to protect John. And it is a T-800 that we find out John Connor reprogrammed and sent back in time to protect his younger self. This movie is just amazing when it comes to the action, when it comes to the stunts. I could watch this movie over and over again. And in this movie, Sarah Connor is pretty much she's pretty much broken down. Everything that happened to her in the first one, in this movie, she's in a mental hospital because she tried to blow up Cyberdyne, the people that's responsible for Skynet. And, after she gave birth to John, she, as he started getting older, she started, training him, telling him about how important he is to the future. And, him being a kid, eventually he stops believing her. So she's in a mental hospital when John is, and we're living with foster parents. Now, the Terminator in this one is not that Skynet set is not a T-800. It's a T-1000. It's liquid metal, and it could form, become knives, stabbing weapons. It changes hands, anything sharp, and fingers and all that stuff like that. Anything sharp, knives, stabbing weapons, like they say in the film. Well, this time around, the T-1000 can do a little bit more than what the T-800 could. The T-800 could mimic people's voices in the first one. We've seen that. But the T-1000 can actually transform himself into other people. Like, he can actually transform himself into other people. Sorry, this is camera here. There we go. Transform himself into other people. And being a kid at the time, you know, when I first seen this movie, like, I was just mind blown. Like, I was shocked as hell. Well, I said, Sarah's in a mental hospital. She's still getting over the death of Kyle, John's father. And I said, John stops believing her about the whole future and stuff in Terminator and all that stuff. Well, when Arnold Schwarzenegger shows up, the T-800, he collects him. He, you know, walks into a biker bar. Everybody's like shocked, you know, because he's, you know, you go naked. So he steals a dude's clothes and his motorcycle. The T-1000 kills a cop, steals his clothes and his cop car, and he accesses the database because John has stuff on his record because, you know, he's kind of a bad kid. He steals and shoplifts and all that stuff. So he has a record, and that's how the T-1000 was able to find out where he lives so quickly. Well, he shows up at at John's foster parents' house looking for him. And, you know, he's all nice and stuff and said, like, you know, are you the legal guardian of John Connor? Can I speak with him, please? He's like, his stepdad, no, his foster dad's like, you know, you want to tell me what this is about? He's like, just need to ask him a few questions. So, he asked for a picture of John, and he's like, you know, they also let him know that somebody was there looking for John too, big guy on a bike, which was the Arnold Schwarzenegger, the T-800. So, but what they try to do with the film is they try to not let you know right away who's there to protect John and who's there to kill John. But, I mean, you kind of notice because the T-1000 killed a cop. Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger roughed up some people at the bar, but he didn't kill anybody. And also, when he left the biker bar, I heard "Bad to the Bone" for the first time as a kid. I must have rewinded that part just so I could hear that song at least probably over 20 times. Well, they all come face to face. All three of them come face to face for the first time inside of a mall because, you know, once again, it takes place in Los Angeles. And they're all in the cop is going around, the T-1000 is going around showing John's picture, asking people, have you seen this kid? John has a friend that he's at the mall with. They're at the arcade. And the T-1000 walks up to his friend, like, you seen it? You know this guy? He's like, nah, I don't know. But he tells John, there's a cop scooper for you. Check it out. And he's like, split, man, just go. So then John runs off in the back of the mall. And T-1000 is, you know, following him. And so is the T-800. Arnold Schwarzenegger's character. They all come face to face. And that's when, you know, you see the T-800 tell John to get down, and he shoots the T-1000. So they have a little scuffle thing, and there was a guy that works in the mall that was in the back that I never understood this to this day, even when, like, you know, when I was a kid too. He tells John, he's like, hey, you're not supposed to be in here. So then he sees two people walking up. They got guns. He tells John, the T-800 tells John to get down, and he shoots the T-1000. the whole time the guy's still standing up. Like, he didn't get down on the ground. There's people with guns. Why didn't you get down on the ground? So you know what happens? The T-1000 starts shooting, and the guy becomes collateral damage. So then while the T-1000, T-100 are fighting, John runs away and runs out the mall, gets on his dirt bike. The T-1000 gets the upper hand on the T-100 and, starts chasing after John. John speeds off on his dirt bike. The T-1000 is chasing him. They eventually get to a great chase scene. As the T-1000 sees a big tow truck and steals it. Throws the guy out while the truck's still moving. Oof. Painful. So, good chase scene. The T-800 gets himself together, gets on his motorcycle, and then he goes after him to catch up to them so he can save John. And it's just a great chase scene. There's a stunt where they drove the truck off of a bridge. Like, it was just nice, because a lot of times nowadays that would have been done with CGI. So we have a great chase scene of John on a dirt bike get chased by the T-1000 in a dump truck and in a tow truck. Then we also get a great icon. That's when we got our iconic scene when the T-100 had run out of room where he was trying to catch up to them at, and he ends up driving off the cliff with the motorcycle. But at the time you could clearly tell that wasn't Arnold Schwarzenegger. That was that was a stunt double. But what they did in the updated DVD versions is they CGI'd Arnold Schwarzenegger's head onto the stunt doubles to try to take that that away, that that's not Arnold Schwarzenegger. Well, they stopped the T8. They stopped the T-1000. He blows up. The trucks end up blowing up. And that's when we get the full story, because John tells him to stop the bike, because what happened was the T-800 pulls up next to John on his dirt bike and pretty much jakes him off his bike and puts him on his. So John tells him to stop, and he's like, don't take this the wrong way, but you're a Terminator, right? And then, we get the whole backstory. He's like, who sent you? He's like, you did. 35 years from now, you reprogrammed me to be your protector here, and this time. So they're gonna go get out the city, but then that's when John finds out that because he's like, I want to stop at my house to pick up some stuff. He's like, negative. The T-1000 would definitely try to reacquire you there. He's like, you sure? I would. So he goes to a payphone, calls his foster parents. He noticed something's wrong immediately because his foster mom is being really nice, because when we saw her in the movie, she was yelling at John to clean his room and stuff, but she was being really nice, like, honey, it's late. I was getting ready to worry about you. If you hurry home, we can sit down and have dinner together. I'm making beef stew. And even John's like, something's wrong. She's never this nice. So then they hear his dog is barking, and he's like, the dog's really barking. And he's like, could he already be there? So then, just like the first film, the T-100 can mimic people's voices, so he mimics John's voice. He's like, she said, honey, are you all right? I'm right here. I'm fine. And he's like, what's the dog's name? Max. So he's like, hey, Janelle, what's wrong with Wolfie? I can hear him barking. Is he okay? Wolfie's just fine, honey. Wolfie's just fine. Where are you? So that's when he hangs up the phone. He said, tell him his foster parents are dead. So that's when we also get the backstory on the T-1000. And John starts to admit that everything his mom was saying was true. And he's like, nobody believed her, not even me. So he's like, we got to get her out. We got to get her out the mental hospital. And the Terminator's like, the T-1000's next thing would be to copy Sarah Connor and wait for you to make contact with her. So what I want to touch on now. What we're going to talk about next is Dyson. Miles Dyson. Miles Dyson is the person that's responsible for Skynet. Like, he thought up the whole thing, and also the company he works for has the arm and the chip from the first Terminator. So they go to the mental hospital and break Sarah out. Help break her out because she was planning on her escape anyway, because the police showed up and was still questioning her, like, your son's missing, his foster parents are dead, and they have pictures of the T-100 from the mall when he was fighting the T-1000, and they also have pictures from the surveillance cameras from the first Terminator movie when the Terminator showed up at the police station and killed a bunch of cops. So they think it's the same guy. Meanwhile, Sarah steals some paper clips to plan her escape. And also, the doctor, the psychiatrist from the first Terminator who thought Kyle was crazy is back in this, and he's kind of a dick too, still. And they show up, they help rescue Sarah, and they go to, there's another chase scene that happens with the T-1000, because the T-1000 is at the mental hospital, and when they're chasing after some of the guards and stuff, chasing after Sarah, they set off an alarm, and that alerts the T-1000. And this is when we get another good CGI part. Now, the T-1000 is behind some prison-like bars, and he pretty much morphs through it. Even the psychiatrist is shocked as hell, thing falls out of his mouth. So there's another chase scene. They end up escaping. And they go bunker down at some, I guess is a mechanic garage shop, something like that. Fix up Sarah's wound, because she ended up getting stabbed during while they were trying to get away. And they, taking out the bullets out the T-100. But then, like I said, I watched the director's cut. There's a bunch of added footage in it. And one of the added footage is when, in the theater version, when John is asking the T-100, can you learn things that you haven't been programmed with? And after he's saying, he says, the more I spend with humans, the more I learn. And it cuts away. But in this version, we get more with them explaining what Skynet would do to the T-800s so they wouldn't think too much on their own. So John's like, can we reset the chip? So, they open up his head, they take out the chip, and Sarah's going to smash it, but John's like, no, covers it up. He's like, don't kill him. He's like, him. She's like, him. It. She's like, it, not him. He's like, okay, it. We need it. So she's like, we're better off on our own. You don't know how hard it is to kill one of these things. And he's like, if I'm supposed to be this great leader, how about listening to my leadership ideas once in a while? Because if my own mother won't, who will? So she pretends she's going to hit it, and, well, she smashes the table, and he puts the chip back in. So that was some extra footage we got. And we also got some extra footage when they first showed Sarah in the movie. She was working out in her room, in the mental hospital. She was working out, doing pull-ups. Well, after the psychiatrist comes up and, talking to everybody, showing them Sarah, and he was like, I don't like the patients disrupting the rooms like that. Get her to take her medicine. So, in the theater version, it cuts away. But in this version, they walk in, they tell Sarah she has to take her medicine, and they beat her down. They kick her, they punt, they kick her, they zap her with this stun gun rod. and get her to take her medicine. And then she also has a dream that Kyle from the first movie shows up. He's like, Sarah, wake up. Where's our son? And it's like, he's the target now. And then she's like, I lost him. He doesn't believe me anymore. So Kyle they have like a little moment of them kissing. Kyle disappears out of her arms and it leaves, and she's like chasing him down the hallway, and that's when she runs through these double doors, and she's been having this nightmare about the future, all the bombs and stuff going off, and we do see it. We only get a little clip of it at that. We don't see what's going on until later on in the movie with the full nightmare. This movie is just amazing. It's just amazing. Just like I said, the stuff that they could do with the CGI and all the stunts back then, like, they do show up to, eventually Sarah has her nightmare and she goes to try to kill Miles Dyson herself to stop the whole thing. Excuse me. Well, John and the T-800 figure out what she's going to do. They go after her, but they kind of get there too late because Sarah does shoot up his house, and he has a family and stuff like that. And in the theater version, he only have a son, but in the director's cut, Miles has a son and daughter. So it's really weird. I don't know why they decided to leave the daughter out on the final cut. Because, like, she's, like, even the line, some of the dialogue is different. Like, when their son is going through the house racing his remote-controlled monster truck, she's like, Danny, I told you to go to bed now. I'm not kidding. But in the director's cut version, it's like, I told you to go to bed just like your sister. So, I don't know why they decided to only, like, and just include the kid and not, no big thing, though. But like I said, she goes to destroy. She goes to try to kill Miles Dyson. She backs off because she's like, shut up. It's all your fault. Motherfucker, it's all your fault. He's like, what? So then she backs off. John and them show up. And they talk for a little bit. And that's when Miles finds out about Skynet because he's like, who are you people? And John's like, show him. So the Terminator takes a knife, cuts his arm, and rips his skin and stuff off to show his skeleton, his robotic skeleton. So, and the way he poses the pose, like I said, the Cyberdyne has the chip in the arm from the first Terminator. And when the T-800 puts his hand like that, Miles notices, because he's seen the arm at his job. And he's like, oh my God. So then he finds out about Skynet and that he's responsible for 3 billion deaths. So he decides that he's going to quit the company. He's done working on the project, but they're like, it's not good enough. Nobody must follow your work. So their plan is to go to Cyberdyne, destroy everything at the house, go to Cyberdyne and blow up everything so nobody could follow his work and Skynet doesn't become a thing. Well, the police, they go to the Cyberdyne and they end up tying up a guard. But what they didn't know was that another guard was also on duty. And he ends up setting a silent alarm because he finds the other guard tied up in the bathroom. And everything, all the cops, SWAT, and everything show up. We get our iconic scene with the Terminator with the minigun shooting all the cop cars out the window. And Miles ends up dying because eventually the cops do come in and SWAT does come in and they start firing right away and Miles gets hit. And Sarah and John, T-800, they escape. And Miles is holding on to one of his things that he worked on and the detonator is on the bottom. He's like, I don't know how much longer I can hold this. So then they all run, and as soon as he dies, blows up half of the building. Meanwhile, the T-1000 is on a motorcycle, a cop's motorcycle that he stole, because after he chased them from the mental hospital and failed, he walked back and a cop on a bike showed up, a motorcycle showed up, was like, "You okay?" He's like, "I'm fine." Say, that's a nice bike. So he killed the cop, took his clothes, took his bike, and he shows up at Miles' house, and they're not there, everything's destroyed, but he hears over the police scanner about Sarah and them being at Cyberdyne because of all the cops showing up. They eventually escape Cyberdyne, and there's a good stunt scene where the T-1000 drives because he drives the bike through the building, up the steps, and he jumps out the window onto a police helicopter so he can steal it and chase after John and them. Another good chase scene. This time he's in a helicopter, and they drive the helicopter under a highway pass, which was a cool ass stunt. To do that back in that time, that was cool as hell. So, because nowadays that would have been that would be CGI'd. So, Sarah ends up getting hit because he's firing out the window while he's flying the helicopter. She's shooting back, but eventually she gets hit in the leg, and the T-800 steps on the brakes, so the police helicopter will crash into them and destroy it. But then they blow a flat. They end up getting a flat, and the truck, the SWAT van that they are in, falls over. So, but where the T-1000 landed at when the helicopter crashed, a truck comes pulling up. He steals that, and he goes chasing after him again. But this time, they're in a little pickup truck that somebody stopped to see if they were okay, and it's so slow. John's like, "Step on it." He's like, "This is the vehicle's top speed. I can get out and run faster than this." So the chase scene ends up at some kind of steel mill, some kind of factory thing with very hot steel. The T-800 ends up getting really, really destroyed because let's be honest, the T-1000 was kicking his ass. And John and Sarah do run off, and eventually we get the final scene with Sarah shooting, because what happened was he was trying to, the T-1000 pretended to be Sarah to call out to John. Well, Sarah shows up, shoots him with a shotgun, and as he's at the ledge, there's this really hot steel at the bottom. While he's at the ledge, he runs out of bullets, and she did drop a shotgun shell when she was trying to load up when the T-1000 was, after her. So they turn around, and here comes the T-800 on a conveyor belt, and he has a grenade launcher. He puts it into the T-1000. He blows up, falls into the mill, and falls into the steel, and dies. They throw the chip, the arm from the first Terminator in there, and then that's when he reveals that, there's one more chip. It must be destroyed also. So he says, John doesn't want him to leave. He's like, stay with us, it'll be okay. He's like, I have to go away, John. He's like, it has to end here. So I order you not to go, because you also find out in the movie that the T-800 was programmed to follow all John's orders. So he's like, I order you not to go. I order you not to go. So that's where you find, he ended up being a father figure to John. That's what this whole thing ended up being. So Sarah shakes hands with the T-800, but he can't self-terminate, so he needs them to lower him in the steel. Lower him into the steel, and, that's it. He's dead. Movie goes off, but there's a deleted scene that they took out that they should have kept, because it would have ended the whole Terminator, like, wrap up with just the two movies. But, you know, probably because of money, they got rid of it so there could be more future films, and we are going to talk about those future films. And that deleted scene, I'm probably going to talk about, and because I'm thinking of doing a video where I'm going to talk about Terminator movies as a whole franchise, what they went wrong with, and, you know, the future. You know, is there a future for it? So I'll probably save that deleted scene for that video. But yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm giving this a 10. For great movie, stunts, action, everything. Everybody did a fantastic job. This is a 10. This is an iconic movie. And if you haven't seen it, you should see it. And like I said, I'm going to leave the first review in the description for y'all to click out, and for y'all to click on and check out. And I also leave my social media links, my TikTok and my Instagram, so you can be notified when these reviews drop. But yeah, I kind of went, about 31 minutes. Didn't mean to make this so long, but no doubt what are you going to do. But yep, this has been Terminator 2 Judgment Day's review, and I will be back with the next Terminator movie. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.